What's going on, my Jets family? I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. I appreciate you guys being here with me this evening again on my show. Appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in to listen to me talk about them Jets. I got my Zach Wilson jersey. I'm excited about it. Remember, I mentioned it last week. I'm still excited about it. Going to be rocking it. Very happy to get it. I see Matthias is here. Appreciate you, my man. Matthias says it's Boy Green. Not saying if he is Boy Green, maybe not sure, but appreciate you, Matthias. Appreciate you being here, my man. Appreciate all you guys out there. Thank you for tuning in. So if you haven't, if you can please subscribe to the channel, you can do so by clicking on the logo in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. It'll be very, very much appreciated. So let's jump into what we saw yesterday. Let's jump into Super Bowl 56. Now that game started hot. Man, that game started exciting. Quick touchdown. Pretty quick. I mean, it wasn't the first possession by, the first team, but quick off the bat, some good amount of scoring. Started to taper down, in the, like mid-second into like a little bit of the third quarter. You guys remember the game looked like? I was thinking for a little while, I'm like, okay, maybe this is not going to be as, fast-paced a game as I was thinking. And then the fourth quarter really kicked up. Then the fourth quarter got hot again because, as we know, it's the Super Bowl and all the chips were on the line. So we're going to look at this past Super Bowl, Super Bowl 56, and see how that affects our New York Jets, or at the very minimum, what they should have learned from this last Super Bowl. So we're going to start it off by first looking at the numbers. Then we're going to take a look at the players themselves. Now, if we look at these numbers, it's actually quite interesting. It turns out we have two teams that are more similar to each other on paper than we realized. And the paper tells an interesting tale. It shows what we know about the NFL and what we know about the NFL evolving into, but it also shows some other interesting patterns as well. So let's roll up our sleeves and let's start again by digging into these numbers. So let's start with defense. Now, overall defense, the Rams had the 15th ranked defense this year, and the Bengals had the 17th. Average, not great, average. Their passing Ds, on the other hand, were not that good. Neither team really had that good of a passing defense, which is surprising considering, how we're going to get into, excuse me, how we're going to get into the quality of these two passing offenses. You guys remember, I was really expecting more of, more touchdowns. I was really expecting more dynamic offense in this game. The defenses did show up, though. So we have average defenses, not great passing Ds, but quality run defenses. Bengals had the 5th ranked running defense in the NFL this year, and the Rams had the 6th. Now, as we know, rushing isn't the name of the game anymore. I think it could be more of a coincidence of anything that both of these teams had such quality rushing defenses. But I think what more this story tells is the overall defense aspect. That it's important to have a good defense, but without giving too much away, I think we're going to get to my last point here, but let's move into the offense a little bit because I think that tells more of a picture. So if we move into the offense now we're starting to see the picture start to come together. The overall offense of these two teams, two of the best in the NFL. The Bengals had the 7th ranked offense, not a surprise, with Joe Burrow at the helm, the awesome receivers they have, and same thing with the Rams. If you guys remember, I'd pointed out, just last year, the Rams really looked like a team that just needed a quarterback. I felt like Goff wasn't the answer. I still am not a big fan of the kid. Excuse me. I felt like the Rams had everything they needed but a quality quarterback. They go and get Matt Stafford, a quality quarterback, 8th ranked total offense in the NFL this year. Now, we look at the passing offenses, even better. The Rams had the 5th best passing offense in the entire NFL this year, and the Bengals had the 7th. Rushing offense, both again, not great. Both again, toward the bottom, actually, of the NFL. So it's interesting when we actually do look at these numbers. And I think, again, the biggest thing that jumps off with the defense is the averageness of both of them. That's really what we're seeing now. It's good to have a great defense, but that's not what's going to win it for you anymore. As you see, their passing defenses lacked. Their rushing defenses were really good, brought them to about average overall. But when we look at their offenses, both of these teams had stellar passing offenses. And as we know, that's the name of the game in the NFL. So the takeaway from the numbers that we see here are that defenses no longer win championships. I mean, it sure as hell helps. It sure helps. And we've seen it with the Jets this past year, especially pass rush, which we're going to get into, is really a key. It definitely helps to have a good defense, but you don't need the best defense. I mean, if we actually look, at the numbers, for example, and going back to the overall best defenses in the league, we have teams like the Broncos up there. We have teams like the Saints up there. Teams like we have the Niners who lost. The Colts are pretty high up there. Defense is good. Defense is important. But defense doesn't win championships anymore. Offense does. But more specifically, the passing offense. Having that quarterback, having those receiving options. We've known it for a while, but the beauty is these numbers just show it. These two teams were not the best teams. As we know, they weren't the number 1, number 2 seeds. In fact, they were the 4th overall, both of them, which is quite interesting. Excuse me. But as we see here, they both had stellar offenses, especially as passing offenses. So that's starting with the numbers. See a bunch of you guys there. Appreciate it. Pure Adrenaline's there. What's up, my man? Appreciate you tuning in. You got Afram here saying, considering the Bengals D-line aggressiveness, you would have thought the Rams would have thrown a screen. Definitely would have made some sense. Would have been interesting. Might have opened up the short passing game a little more, potentially. But that's a look at the numbers. So we look at these numbers, and again, we've known for a while that the NFL is now an offensive league. And we've known for a while that defenses no longer win championships. They help. I mean, like we said, they definitely help. But it's the offense, specifically the passing offense, that's going to win it for you in this league. So we said we were going to look at the numbers, and I think the numbers do tell an interesting story. But then we said we were going to look at some of the players, some of the key contributors to this game. And again, what we hope the New York Jets take away from this game and have learned from this last Super Bowl. So one thing that both of these teams had in common is they had stellar wide receiving cores. You had the Rams with arguably one of the best in the NFL with Cooper Kupp, the best receiver in the league, Odell Beckham, who would be a wide receiver 1 on any other team, really. And then Van Jefferson, who you guys know I've mentioned, I think is pretty slept on. I mean, when Odell went down in the game, I thought Van Jefferson would have stepped up more. He didn't, but I really like that kid. Second-year player, put up 800 yards. I really liked him. Thought he'd go high in the draft or higher than people had him projected back in 2020. He did wind up going high. He's a slept-on kid. But then you look at the Bengals. You got Jamar Chase, who was the best receiver or one of the best receivers in football this past year, and he was a rookie. Definitely the best rookie wide receiver, but one of the best receivers, period. Putting up, I'm pretty sure, over 1,500 yards in his rookie year. Then you have T. Higgins, and you have Tyler Boyd. Let's not forget Tyler Boyd at one point was one of the best receivers on this team. Now he's buried behind quality depth. So both of these teams had stellar wide receiver cores. And we have to keep that in mind, though they do both have stellar wide receiver cores. When Odell Beckham went down, the entire Rams offense suffered. The entire Rams offense. When he went out, yeah, they still had Cooper Kupp. Yeah, they still had Van Jefferson. Yeah, they still had Cam Akers, but the entire offense suffered. Showing us what we already know, but enforcing it, that big playmakers are a must. And you need to have more than one of them. You never know who's going to go down. You never know who's going to be ready. You never know who's going to have an off game when someone else has a big game. Again, we look back, both of these teams had stellar wide receiver cores. Again, the Rams, arguably the best in the NFL, and the Bengals, pretty freaking close to the best in the NFL. And like we saw, even though the Rams had such a great core, even when Odell went down, the entire offense suffered because Cooper Kupp was double teamed and everyone else had trouble getting open. So playmakers are a must. And that brings us to the question. And the question we have to ask now is, where does the Jets wide receiver core look? I mean, I felt for a little while that Elijah Moore can be a wide receiver 1. I feel like he showed us last year that he can be that he can be a true wide receiver 1. We watched him lining up against some of the best corners in the league. And yeah, looking like a rookie at times, but also looking great at times. Looking great in press coverage, looking great when he was, held up very tightly, when the coverage was very close, and he had to make contested catches. I was very impressed with what I saw and feel like he could be a legit guy. Now, Corey Davis, we thought he could be a wide receiver one. Clearly, that's not the case. Clearly, we were wrong about that. But if Elijah Moore can be that wide receiver one, can Corey Davis make a pretty decent wide receiver too? Now, obviously, it's not going to be like an Odell Beckham Cooper Kupp combination, but to be fair, not many is. Like we pointed out, Beckham would be the wide receiver one on pretty much any other team. Like pretty much on like one or two teams out, pretty much every other team in the league, he'd be a wide receiver one. But you have Cooper Kupp on that team. So big playmakers are a must. Now we know Elijah Moore is that. We think from what we've seen with Corey Davis in the past, he's been that. He struggled with us his first year, which was very surprising. Again, it could be him thrust into that wide receiver one role. He's always been a complimentary wide receiver. Maybe now, if Elijah Moore is that true one and Corey Davis plays more of that secondary role, maybe he'll look really solid again like he did with the Titans. But I think, and I've said this before, even though a lot of fans want to bring back Braxton Berrios, and I'm still good with that, I think this Super Bowl showed us, looking at these wide receiver cores, we could use another weapon. We could use another top playmaker, top weapon. And the way I look at that is depends how this draft folds out. So, I mentioned it last week when we had our draft eval. If we can get a top edge rusher at 4, like Thibault or Hutchinson, and either one could fall to 4, we take a top offensive lineman with the other pick. You guys know who I like, and we're going to get in the offensive line as well. I'd be very fine with a wide receiver at 35. You guys remember my take. My dream is Chris Olave. That somehow, because everyone won't shut up about Garrett Wilson, they forget how good Chris Olave is. And he somehow falls to 35. I don't think that can happen. You guys know I mentioned it in my draft eval last week that I personally, my surprise take is I think Olave is the better receiver. I've said it. I've said it in the past. I'll say it now. I think Olave is the better of the two receivers. And just due to more volume, Wilson has, thrust himself into the role, honestly. But honestly, if we took a wide receiver at 35, kind of like the way we took Moore, a guy that wasn't supposed to be there. Remember, you guys remember, I didn't want a wide receiver high last year, but then we took Moore and I was like, okay, like I was right. I was behind it because it was a great pick. Shouldn't have been there at that pick. You guys remember Kim Jones made a whole thing about how, one day there's probably going to be a documentary on how Elijah Moore made it that far. If someone's there, I'm cool with that. We could use more weapons. I think, again, that's what they showed us, especially with not just the stellar cores they had, but when Odell went down. You need quality weapons. You need quality playmakers. That could also be a tight end. So whether that means, as you guys know, a lot of Jet fans want the Jets to either bring in Dalton Schultz or Mike Gesicki. You guys know I'm a little privy to Gesicki, but that would be an excellent option as well. You need more weapons. Playmakers are a must. And like Odell's injury showed us, you need more than one. You need more than one because if someone goes down, you double team him, the whole offense is shut down. So Elijah Moore is not enough on his own. I think Corey Davis can be a decent wide receiver too. You guys know my take was I'm a big fan of Michael Gallup. I feel like Michael Gallup is massively slept on. Because of his injury, people don't realize how freaking good this kid is. This kid was on the verge of breaking into a potential wide receiver one role, but at bare minimum being an outstanding wide receiver two, and he's young as hell. He's going to come back from his injury. My plan, pay him for 4 years, give him a few months, maybe half a year to heal. When he's ready, look out. Just look out. You add Michael Gallup into that mix. I love it. But we need to draft a guy. We definitely need to take a guy. I don't know who Joe Douglas has his eyes on. We'll see who's available at what pick. There's so many ways this draft could fall out. You guys remember I said if we take Kyle Hamilton at 4, take an offensive lineman again with that other high pick, I'd like to go edge maybe at 35. Maybe Trey McBride is a lot of different options. But the main point is you need big playmakers. Big playmakers are a must, and you can't just have one. Elijah Moore is special, but he can't do it all himself. He needs people around him. So, my next point from what we've seen from the play of the game, the Bengals' bad offensive line had let them down all season. All season they let them down. As you guys know, or maybe you don't know, Joe Burrow is the first quarterback in NFL history to be sacked more than anybody and make the Super Bowl. Like, that's not a thing. Like, you get sacked more than anybody, you probably more likely follow Andrew Luck's trajectory, unfortunately. Burrow was sacked more than anybody, and he made the Super Bowl. No one's ever done that before. First time that had ever happened. But the Bengals' offensive line has been a letdown all season, and it finally let them down again. It let them down at the end of the game when the chips were on the table, right when it mattered the most. The offensive line did what it did best for the Bengals and let them down. So as you guys know, I've been yelling for my podium. I'm going to get a big a podium as I can get. I'm yelling it. I even got the yell emoji. Improve the offensive line. That is the message. The offensive line needs to be better. The Bengals showed, even with a guy like Joe Burrow, who's Joe Cool and can be sacked more than anybody and still make it to the Super Bowl, it's not enough to have a bad offensive line. You need a quality offensive line. Now, as you guys know, they say Mekhi Becton's good to go. Remember, I had a whole episode on it. If you guys want, check it out. If Becton is what they say and ready to go the way he is, man, I'm pumped for him. This kid was a potential all-pro as a rookie. So if he truly is ready to go, and after the year he had, we're good at tackle. We need to fix the interior of that line. The middle of that line needs to be fixed, especially because, as you guys remember, I point this out because for some reason when people do QB eval, they never mention this. The tackles collapsing, you guys remember I've mentioned this, is so much different than when the guards in the center of the line collapse. When tackles collapse, it's all about awareness, anticipation, mobility, feeling it, sensing it. When the middle of your offensive line collapses, you guys remember we've talked about this, you have 6'6" men in your face immediately. You might as well hold your breath and close your eyes. Hold your breath, close your eyes, and throw the football. The interior of the offensive line is so important. So the Jets need to improve it. You guys know how I feel. I love Tyler Linderbaum. Again, I had a whole episode on that as well. Doesn't make sense why people don't like him high. If he was a guard, people would be like, take him at 5, take him at 6. He's unbelievable. But let's just say the Jets are in love with Aquanu. Let's just say they love him. Okay, you know what? As long as we improve this O-line, I want Tyler Linderbaum, but the offensive line needs to be improved. The quality of the offensive line last year will not cut it. Zach Wilson was running for his life just about half the time or so, didn't have the ability to set his pocket like he needed all the time. And like we saw from the Bengals, that is what literally let them down, their offensive line. So the two biggest things that we've seen so far are playmakers are a must. You need multiple of them. Offensive line is super important. Last one, pass rush is so key. The pass rush on a defense is so key. I mean, we talked before about how defenses don't win championships anymore. They don't. But just look at it, from a logical standpoint. If we say that passing offenses win championships, well, then you have to stop a passing offense. How do you stop a passing offense? You get to the quarterback. It's that simple. So pass rush is key. The Bengals somehow shut down Aaron Donald for the majority of that game. I didn't see that coming. I thought the man was going to break a record yesterday. I mean, he looked like a man possessed in the rest of the postseason. Every postseason game I watched him, he just looked like nothing could stop him. Somehow the Bengals fingered out for a little bit late yesterday, but not enough. In the fourth quarter, when it mattered, when the chips were down, what happened? We saw Cooper Kupp win the game. We saw, like we mentioned before, where is it? I have it right here. With the big playmakers being a must, Cooper Kupp won the game when all the chips were on the table. Odell was out. The big man stepped up. The number one guy, one of the best receivers in the league. So again, playmakers are so necessary. Again, I think Corey Davis could make a good wide receiver too, but you need someone else in that mix. You need someone else. Whether it's signing Berrios, maybe also signing Gallup and drafting a guy. That sounds like a hell of a start to me. That sounds like a hell of a start. Get playmakers on that offense. Surround Zach Wilson like they surrounded Matt Stafford, like they surrounded Joe Burrow. Improve that offensive line. Make it better. And pass rush is so key. We need a top edge rusher. You guys know I do feel the way everyone's like salivating over Neal. Many have him as first overall now. Kyle Hamilton's up there. There's a good chance at 4. We have the 4th overall pick. If Hamilton and let's just say Neal or Aquanu, one of those guys go in two of those 3 guys go in the top 2 or 4, Hutchinson or Thibault falls to us. It's just basic math. So there's a decent chance that either Aiden Hutchinson or Kayvon Thibault fall to the New York Jets, and we need that. We need that top edge rusher. And you guys remember my take on it. Our best edge rusher was John Abraham, and even John Abraham wasn't a, Von Miller type consensus overall pick in a draft, and, we didn't even have him for that long. So considering these two guys are the best edge rushers in their draft, I would argue we've never had a guy like this before. So a lot of things we need. Pass rush is key. My last take from these players, and I think you guys will agree with it as well. We watched Evan McPherson make 2 field goals and Matt Gay make 1. We see all the time how games are won and lost by kicking. We, the Jets, have been victims of those losses from kicking for a long time. So I got my yelling emoji again. I'm yelling it to Joe Douglas. We finally need to draft a kicker. Now, Eddie Pineri, I don't know why I'm blanking on saying his last name right for some reason right now. So we'll just say Eddie. Eddie has been kicking well. In fact, he hadn't missed a kick since we signed him. But to be fair, Matt Amendola was the same thing for a little while. You can't trust it. You got to draft a picker. Pinheiro, that's it. Took me a minute. Eddie Pinheiro. Eddie Pinheiro has been perfect since we've signed him. But again, Matt Amendola was perfect for a little while too. You guys remember even I fell victim. I was saying, we finally found a kicker. And I think it's because we're just so starved for one. We're just so starved for a kicker. We have a guy make 5 in a row. We're like, plate him in gold. Put him on a mantle. We have a kicker. We need to draft a kicker. We need one. Again, so many games are won and lost by kicking. And we've literally been the victim of that for the last few years now. So the Jets need to draft a kicker. So that's my big takeaways from this game. That's my big takeaways from this Super Bowl. Again, you look at these numbers, it just shows how it's all about the offense now, specifically the passing offense. The players show it as well. And again, they show us, the Jets, 3 key things. Actually, it's 4 key things. The Jets have been shown 4 key things in the Super Bowl. They've been shown they need playmakers for Zach Wilson. 1 isn't enough. They need an offensive line to protect him. They need a pass rush that can get to the quarterback, and they need a consistent kicking game. That is really what this Super Bowl has shown us. So I appreciate all you guys there. Appreciate all your guys' comments. Got Kev's there. Kev's got a question. He says, hey, Mike White's a restricted free A. Do you tag him with $2.4 million to get a 5th-round pick or $4 million to get a 2nd? Got to get something if JD does not want him. I think we'd keep him long-term. I honestly think we're going to keep him around. Mike White, again, we thought maybe he could be the guy. Maybe he could be, because he never really got a chance before. I felt like he'd never really gotten a chance with Dallas. I loved his football IQ. When he got a chance, he was dynamic. We thought, well, maybe he can be the guy. He wasn't, but he's not a bad backup. He's proven exactly what you want for a QB2. And if you guys remember, my whole take was that Mike White should be the QB2, and I thought he'd be an excellent QB2. Because what's the most important thing for the quarterback, the second quarterback? To be someone who understands the offense, understands how it works, knows how to play within it, and be able to function enough to play well and win games. Well, Mike White looked like that. Again, he didn't look like he can be the guy, but he looked like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets, give Mike White like a 2-year deal. Not sure what kind of money they give him because, quarterbacks are always so varied. Could be a small amount of money because, again, he's unproven. Maybe Joe thinks somebody's going to want him, so he wants to lock him down as a backup, especially his insurance. But I wouldn't be surprised if they sign him to a 2-year deal. I wouldn't be surprised if they keep Mike White long term. Pure Journal points out Boyd had a big drop yesterday. He did. He definitely had a big drop yesterday. But again, they got Jamar Chase and they have T. Higgins. That is an outstanding receiver core, and the Rams receiving core is even better. So I pointed out, that I remember a time where Boyd was one of their best receivers, and he's still a quality receiver in the NFL. He's just buried behind so much depth. You need playmakers. You need playmakers, and you need more than one, and you need dynamic guys. Dynamic guys like an Odell Beckham. I mean, Odell Beckham and Cooper Kupp together, those are 2 wide receiver ones, and we saw even when one got hurt, the team suffered. So you really need playmakers. So I do feel, again, like Corey Davis could be a decent wide receiver too. He's got to stay healthy, but he's never had health issues in the past. I mean, other than, a couple of dings up, here and there, he pretty much was consistently healthy, I would say, for the most part, So it's going to be interesting to see. I think, again, he can still, be a decent wide receiver too. But Berrios is a good option. Love to see them bring in Gallup, bring both of those guys and draft somebody. Get weapons. Bring in a tight end. Mike Gesicki, Dalton Schultz, and draft a tight end. Weapons. That's what this is all about. Both of these teams showed us that. You need playmakers. You need to surround your quarterback with talent, and you need to protect him. You need an offensive line that keeps him upright. Kev says Elijah Moore is not a wide receiver one. I would disagree, man. I mean, he's only had 1 year. He's had his rookie year. That's it. But watching him, if you remember, I went into the season saying the same thing. I was like, he's too small. He's too small. He doesn't have what it takes to be a wide receiver one. But hey, T.Y. Hilton is a guy who showed everybody wrong. And I think Elijah Moore is starting to as well. Again, watching him in his rookie year, he was going toe-to-toe with some of the best corners in the league, man. And he was making contested catches and outstanding plays. Again, it's still early. It's definitely still early. He's only had a rookie year. But I feel like what I've seen so far, he can definitely be that guy. I feel like he could be a wide receiver one. And if Corey Davis can be a wide receiver two, you plug in another dynamic playmaker into that mix. You got weapons. Now you got weapons for your quarterback. Tom puts out, appreciate you, Tom. Appreciate you being here, man. He says, what's up, my brother? Trying to eat dinner and listen. Appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for being here, my man. You guys are talking about the Super Bowl. See you guys enjoyed it. Jeremy's here. Appreciate you, Jeremy. Appreciate all you guys being here. Anthony's here as well. Sup, man? Appreciate all you guys. And if you guys, remember, you know how it is. If you have any comments, any questions you want to bring up, please bring it in the chat. But I feel like those are the biggest things we learned from this Super Bowl. Those are the biggest things number-wise and player-wise that hopefully the New York Jets learned from, that they learned something from this Super Bowl. Tom points out he enjoyed it, but he feel bad for Bengal fans. Man, the Bengals have never won a Super Bowl, which is a damn shame. They're 0-3 in the Super Bowl right now. It's tough. It's tough. I mean, the Rams hadn't won since 99. That is a long time. I mean, we're talking 20-something years. But it's tough. It's definitely tough. I do feel bad for the Bengals, but you guys remember, I mean, it was a much closer game than I thought it would be, honestly, at the end. But I did feel like the Rams would pull it out. I did. But Anthony asked what my dream first round is. I mentioned it last week. And again, if you guys haven't seen it, last week was a whole episode I had on draft eval, my draft situation. But dream draft, you really want to salivate right now. Here's the Jets dream draft right here, if you're ready for it. Aiden Hutchinson at 4. Tyler Linderbaum at 10, Chris Olave at 35, and then Trey McBride at 37. And then my head explodes, my heart stops, and it's over. It's just over. You guys remember I said that last week. If we get all 4 of those guys, I'm croaking. Like, that's it. Like, I'm going to need CPR to bring me back. So that's first and second round, but that's my dream first top picks. That's my dream. Trey McBride could fall that far. I'd be shocked if Olave fell that far. But Anthony points out that'd be an insane draft. That's it. If the Jets get those 4 guys, I'm done. Like, that's it. Draft is over for me. Everything after that, it's just gravy on top of the cupcake. But I appreciate all you guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate you guys. Afrin points out, don't count on your head exploding. It's possible. I mean, we got to hope, man. We got to pray. You never know. Joe Douglas is the guy to pull off miracles, man. This guy knows how to wheel. He knows how to deal. He knows how to trade. And he is a good GM. I've said a great GM. He's easily a good GM. I think the man is a great GM. So I'm excited, man. With Joe Douglas at the helm, we're heading in the right direction. We have the right people in the right positions. So I appreciate all you guys being here. I appreciate you tuning in and taking part of the Take Flight Spit and Fire podcast. Remember, we're with you guys every Monday at 7 p.m. Tune in, bring your questions, bring your comments. We'll talk it out. Love to do it. And again, appreciate you guys being here. I hope you have a great, great rest of your week. The season's over now, but the offseason is just beginning. We got free agency coming up. We got the draft coming up. Exciting stuff. We're going to be doing mock drafts here, so make sure you tune in. We'll do free agent mocks. We'll do draft mocks. It's going to be a lot of fun. So again, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for being here. I'll see you guys next week. You have a great, great rest of your week, and let's go Jets. Our time is coming. I can't wait. We're going on the back of Joe Douglas and the back of Zach Wilson. Here we go, baby. Jets, Jets, Jets.